All right. It's now time for our Woman's World discussion. So today we are discussing proposals. Should a woman pop the question, or should we just give the signs that we're ready for marriage and just wait? What if a woman wants to ask the question? You know, how will men react? Would they accept? Then weeks after, they probably try to propose to us to kind of balance the feel. We're not sure. Or will it be a case where they feel less than a man because everyone says, you know, it's their duty to ask the question? And we could go on and on and on and on and on. Well, let's welcome entrepreneur and author SallyAnn Gray and CEO of Face Impressions modeling agency, Kenesha Mitchell, with us this morning. How are we, ladies?
We're good.
All right. Yeah, you're very bright in your yellow. Kenesha, we didn't have a choice. We had to brighten up this morning.
Yes, of course.
So we're talking about the wonderful world of marriage, or so it is referred to as. But when it comes to the concept or the issue of the question, that day when someone's life will change, who forgot the question? Well, we have no men on set, right? It's a woman's world.
Okay, so for me, sorry. As for me, traditionally, you know, men normally pops the question, but I don't see whereas a female shouldn't. Why shouldn't it be reciprocated? You know, we can do it too.
Sally?
No. No, I'm going to stick with culture and tradition as I know it on this one. I believe that sometimes over time culture will dictate the order of the day, and sometimes we can stick with it or we can choose to shift culture. But on this topic, I believe that men are naturally hunters, and I believe that if they are not truly ready, then it will have implications for the marriage. And so I believe that we should allow them the time and space to pop the question, and that way we know that they're absolutely ready.
Okay. What do you think framed the whole culture of a man making that decision? Kenesha?
I mean, I agree with her. To an extent, it's a cultural thing, as we know. But hey, what can we do? If the time is right, then the time is right.
All right, so Sally, you said earlier that, you know, in case, you know, men are kind of hunter and gatherer in the sense of how we've known it, and the protector in a sense. But you said, you know, if anything, popping the question on the female side could probably, if a man isn't ready, could cause. But what about if the female isn't ready? Isn't it the same thing?
Well, of course it would be the same thing on her end, but I really just believe that there are certain things culturally that we should allow to stay that way. And beyond the culture, I will just go ahead and be upfront and honest that I did an informal poll yesterday. Right. So first of all, I was getting my nails done, and there was a gentleman in the chair. He was getting his hair cornrowed, and I asked the question, and he looked really, really puzzled. He was like, "No, I won't pop the question, you know?
Really?
Yeah, don't take that from me." And then in conversations with my husband, you know, he was like, "Yeah, I think we should keep that." So when we look at even the reactions from men, I don't know if it's a situation where they feel emasculated, or that in terms of a cultural and traditional space, they see that as something sacred that they should be able to do. So I see no purpose in ruffling the feathers on that. And for me personally, Sally Gray, I'm not going on my knee and proposing to any guy.
And what do you think that would be? Kenesha, do you feel the same way? Is it a case where you wouldn't, if you fell in love with someone and you wanted them to know how much you wanted to share the rest of your life with them, and that was a strong feeling on you, would you pop that question?
Definitely would.
And
I don't see the reason why I shouldn't. If I'm in the position to do so and I'm ready, I will go ahead.
You'll go ahead. So when is a good time? When is the best time to pop? I mean, everybody's situation is different, and so, but generally, Sally, even the work that you do, understanding, you know, the right time for everything in life. How do you know? How does someone really know it's the right time? What are some of those things that we look for?
Well, given that I speak a lot about mindset, I would say the time is right when both are in the mindset and, you know, the frame of mind to receive what marriage represents, right? And so I would say that it is incumbent on the two parties to engage in premarital counseling based on my experience and what I've seen, my own personal experience and what I've seen. I believe that premarital counseling is essential, and it helps to kind of set up the mindset and the culture within that marriage, and how will we navigate the space, you know, who will do what, who is responsible for what, how will we handle money, when will children come, because many times you'll find persons that get married because they're in love without much thought or discussion or emphasis placed on the real life issues, and so the mindset behind marriage is not cultivated, and then boom, after the honeymoon it's like, oh, so you never want kids? Also, you don't want to have a child until 2 years because you want to travel. So these are some conversations that you want to have. So who going to pay the mortgage, and who going to pay the light and the water? And who going to go supermarket? These are some conversations that we want to have. So in terms of when is a good time, I would say when the mindset is right, and when both persons are ready to receive what the institution of marriage comes with.
So, Kenisha, are you in agreement with how Sally has framed that as it relates to just that readiness? It's really about your mindset.
It's really about the mindset. So you are correct, Sally.
Yeah, you're correct. All right, so Sally gets a point.
I want to interject here to talk about the fact that, you know, we have this thing where everybody is saying, I want to share my truth, and then so-and-so has their truth, and then we have all our individual truths. But for me personally, as a woman of God, we have to align on the truth. So I have a truth and you have a truth, but what are we going to use as a sounding board, as the truth, as the standard? And biblically, I won't go too deep into it, it says, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. And so allow the man to find you, and allow him to propose to you, you know. And so for me personally, I'm not going to get too carried away with my feelings or my opinions, even though in this instance my feelings and my opinions align with the word, which is what it should do with most things, right, or with everything. But we want to ensure that irrespective of our feelings and you know, how you know, the space that we're in when it comes on to any topic, including marriage and including who should pop the question, that we have some sounding board of where can we find the truth, right? And for me, that is the word of God. And so I'm going with, he that findeth a good wife findeth a good thing. Allow the man to find you, allow him to pursue you, allow him to court you, and allow him to propose to you when the time is right, when both of you are in the right frame of mind and mindset and the space to receive what the institution of marriage comes with. So,
totally agree.
Yeah. So we, Lady A and Male A fall in love, and they've been in love for 3 years. And Lady A says, I was hoping by now, you know, I've been to about 4 weddings of for my friends and his friends, and I'm not sure what's happening, and everything seems to be fine except the question. What does Lady A do?
Well, if at that point he doesn't propose to you as yet, I mean, maybe he's not ready financially, maybe he's not ready mentally. So you have to, you know, you have to just wait and see. If you wait for another period, and give him that little time and the hinting thing, you know, he will come forward.
So you just made a point, hint. Do you believe there's a way in which we can kind of set up that conversation? So there's a popping the question, which is the actual to do. But most times the idea is that you expect that by now we are both ready mindset-wise, as you mentioned earlier. We are here at this point, and it's clear that we're trending in that direction. It's almost like if anyone says it to us one more time, might as well we just elope, because it's like, we're not going to get married, we want to eat pizza cake, as Jamaicans would say. And, you know, the male, he's just not ready, it seems, or he has not said anything. What do you think, in your case, especially since you would wait, Sally, what would your, you know, how would that be for you?
Well, for me personally, I'm not really about the hinting life. I believe in having the conversation. So if you've been dating for a year, you've been dating for 2 years, you've been dating for 3 years. For many women, like when I met Mark and we were dating and so on, I was approaching 30 and I was like, okay, I want to have a child and, I want to get married and all of that. And so I would bring up the conversation, I would indicate that I would like to be married. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's okay for the woman to, when the time is right, in the sense of it not being a situation where you just leave a wedding or you just come from a girls' night out and your friends are pressuring you. You go home and you go and you just come out on the man like that. But I believe that when you guys are in deep conversation or you know the dynamics of your relationship, you can say, boy, babe, marriage is something that I'm interested in and I'd love to be married by X time and so on. So I think it's okay to come out the woods and have the conversation and then leave the conversation where it is, because I believe that women should also not pressure men, but you give yourself a timeline. Yes. So, for example, if you've been dating for 2 years and you have the conversation at the 2-year mark, I'm gonna go dinner, it's your birthday, you say, boy, boom, bam, bam, and then you say to yourself, boy, I make him know where I stand. If I don't hear him come out, I have 1 more year. You must determine. It's your biological clock. It's your life. You can choose. Sure. So if you say to yourself, boy, I'm going to give him the opportunity, him have 8 months, him have 6 months. You don't have to say that to him. But after that time, if you feel like it's taking too long, feel free to excuse yourself from the relationship. But
is it that easy?
You can't put the...
Is it that easy?
No, it's way easier said than done. But all I'm saying is, what's the purpose of staying in a relationship and placing that pressure and undue pressure on a partner, be it male or female? Yes. However the dynamics of your thing works. For the situation where the woman may have been the one who proposed, why try to force something on somebody who just obviously doesn't want it? Either doesn't want it with you, or doesn't want it right now. And so if you can't wait, feel free to excuse yourself, because I think we rob ourselves of the freedom that we have the option to choose. You can choose. You don't have to be in war with this person. You can move marry me. You can move on. Of course. And feel free to give yourself the permission to move on if the situation is not working out based on what you had envisioned for yourself.
All right, Kenisha.
Sally, she's
Sally again.
She hit the point, and that's good, Sally. And as you said, as you emphasize on mindset, that is everything. You have to be able to relate to a partner. You have to be able to, and not only relating. If you communicate with the person and they don't comprehend, it's a different thing. So you have to be ready. Yeah.
There is a concept. I was reading in this book, and I was trying my very best to remember which book it was to kind of phrase it. But it spoke about the first 2 years of any relationship being that of a honeymoon period. And then after which, everything pretty much, not necessarily goes down the drain, but a lot of things tend to raise their heads. This is when you can't really fake it anymore. Certain things let out. Certain things don't happen again. Certain things start happening. And you're like, are you my bandit like?
Yeah.
At that stage, how do we keep that concept of the relationship going? Like when things really start, because the mindset may have changed 2 years later. Your life, anything could have happened. Sally, as a mindset expert, how do you, really encourage people to move past that honeymoon phase? And do you even agree as someone who is married? Yeah,
well, I agree that after a certain time, the honeymoon stage kind of wanes and we get into sort of this real life and getting to know the real you, if for want of a better word. And I believe within the culture of that relationship or that marriage, it's important to, establish what are some ground rules. Are we going to be checking in with and seriously, people don't approach marriage like a business. but certain aspects of it really is.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And just as how a business has board of directors, governors, every organization has policies and goals and objectives and strategic objectives and whatever they're trying to achieve. I believe that a marriage, from a business perspective, has those things. And so I think, it's important to do a quarterly check-in, a monthly check-in, an annual check-in.
Yeah.
Where are we at? Like my church is actually going to be doing a Bible study this Friday, where we're going to be talking about the love languages. And so for things like the love language and other things, as people grow and evolve, and as this honeymoon space kind of wanes, it's important to have these open and honest conversations about where are we at with money, because we started out one way, but how you feel about it now? Maybe the husband started out paying the mortgage and all the bills, but now that the two kids are in the picture, boy, it kind of stressing. So babe, maybe we need to shift into going into a 50-50 kind of vibe.
Right.
Or not because you're the man, mean that you have to pay the picnic them school fee every single
I could jump
semester.
in.
Could I assist with 1 month, we do every other month, or I do the first semester, him do the second semester,
That's
and then the third semester we go half and half. I think it's important. So that's for money. Where are we with love languages? Are you feeling my love the same way you felt it when I did these things at the beginning? Where are we at on certain things? And I think it's just important to do these pulse checks and to have it in a very open and honest way, because that's the only way that the relationship is going to grow and thrive. And may I add, my husband used to say to me, he's right here in the studio, like one of his things is that, he doesn't want to get married and then for me to just like change overnight, because based on what he had observed, women, they get married and then all of a sudden, like, boom, it's like, who is this woman?
Right.
But may I invite both men and women, and may I remind myself as well, that the only thing on the planet that is constant is change. And so it's not a situation about the person changing so much so like, you just turn a monster. It's maybe more, can we view it from a mindset perspective of the person evolving into a new person. And they can be evolving into a new person that is not good. And they can be evolving into a new person that is great. And so if it's going in a direction that you don't like, I think similarly we want to have a conversation to say, your mindset kind of seemed different from when I met you. You're kind of approaching things differently from when I met you. What's happening here? So
Kenisha, like earlier, I'd ask you this question. When I was thinking through the whole thing, and you mentioned, Sally, that you did that kind of little check-in with some males yesterday, some men, and they mentioned that they want that. I'm thinking, suppose the male's love language is, I want her to make me feel like, she should pop the question of me, because we're talking about this whole concept of the question. Like, I am the type of man, and of course, Gary Chapman writes the book about the 5 love languages, and this is pretty much where a lot of things have come. We start talking about all of a sudden these days, love languages, how do you represent differently from another person? But like, suppose the male's love language has been, I want her to make me feel wanted. How does that work? How does she even identify that love language?
That's the thing I was going to get at. But you wouldn't know if he's that person who would just get out, be like that, If you're talking to him and you realize the stuff that he relates to you, and I would be like, okay then, is he a player? Or should I keep going in this situation? But I don't think you have to hint. Once you have a person who is interested in you, they won't need to be like, I think she should portray that to me, or whatever the sense may be. But it is what it is.
Love language seems to transcend many different kind of, like we speak about it a lot about relationships, but persons, obviously, 3 women sitting on a set, and I'm sure our backgrounds and our ideals and ideals differ. And that may be, possibly, you can tell me, an indication to how we see things. The lens I have might be a little different from your lens, and your lens will be different. Is that in any way, shape, a concept of what a love language can be like?
Well, again,
how do we identify it?
Tradition and values shapes everything.
Right.
Right? And you think about a brother and a sister raised in the same household, same parents, same environment, probably went to maybe the same co-ed school, and then they can't even get along because, you know, sometimes you look at the brother and the sister and you say,
Different.
oh, you guys are so different. And so if that happens with a brother and sister that were raised under the same roof, can you imagine when a male and a female come together who were raised separately with different values, different, you know, heritage, and, you know, of course we're coming to the space with different lenses, which is why it's very important in the courting stage to kind of really gauge, you know, values.
Do you think people are really taking time, Sally,
to check out the values?
And Kenisha, to really find out, you know, do you think we're just going off in this
love, this
Barbie and Ken world,
emotion,
and we're not at all emotional?
It's
true.
It's true.
You know, females are emotional, and sometimes, you know, if you feel like something is right, oh my God, I'm in love with this person, I think he's my one and only, then, you know, it happens. We just sidestep all of the stuff, the red flags, you know, so. No, trust me, I could go on and on, you know, but.
Go ahead.
No, it's stressing sometimes, you know, but values, you should, as a female, take in consideration that worst if you're driven by something.
Okay.
So I think it's important to look at the background, you know, how somebody was raised, who they were raised by, look at mommy and daddy. You know, one of the things that...
Or the lack thereof.
Or the lack thereof, thank you, Tammy. You know, one of the things that attracted me to my husband, honestly, was when I met his mother, and when I met his father, and then when I met his grandmother, and I was like, yo, good family. Him come from good stock, you know. And then I had the privilege of being able to spend time with different family members, and then you start to get a sense of the heritage that he comes from and how they think. Right. And then I start to think to myself, but this align with how Marjorie and Selburn raised me, man. This kind of look like it can work. So I think it's very important for us to assess. You know, you won't get everything 100%. Nobody will. But I think we should really take the time to come out of the love, fluff, airfare space, you know, after that time passes, and really start looking at the deeper things about how does this man treat his mother? How does he treat his sister? How does he treat his grandmother? How is he treating the woman in his life? Because certainly if he's not treating his mother well, I don't really know that there's much of a chance that he'll treat me well. I'm not going to take that chance. It may work out well, but I don't know that I would. So, you know, I'm assessing some things, and you're evaluating, and you're listening to the listening, and you're listening to what is not being said when you guys are on dates about money. You know what I'm saying? Make a little comment, me not spend no money on whatever. And, you know, you start to say, okay, well, I kind of think that my values don't align with that.
Exit stage left.
And it may not be a time to exit, you know, Tammy. It may just be a time to have the conversation. To say, you know, I hear you say a little thing the other day, and it kind of concern me, you know, because my values not really align with that. So talk to me, big man. I know
straight up
how we stay with this little situation, because sometimes people say something and it comes across a particular way in a relationship, but that's not exactly what they meant. And so it's important to probe and have that open dialogue.
Most definitely.
Have that open dialogue. So
I hope
Sally,
I'll be able to.
You hope, because we're heading to you now. Because Sally has already hitched and decided that this is where I am for the rest of my life, and speaks to what helped her make that decision. What's that thing that you look for in the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, Kenisha?
He has to be able to, you know, he has to be stable. He has to be mentally ready.
What is stable?
Stability comes in many different ways. Stable as in, you know what he wants and, be driven by certain rules and standards. As for me, once I see whereas he is prepared to execute, then I have no worries.
All right. Prepared to execute, stable.
Yeah.
He's ready. So we have this thing as females, since it's women's world, where we tend to have so many requests of our men. And then we show up in the relationship sometimes, like, we never reach halfway anywhere. And, we just have these loads of what the man is supposed to do. And many times I've been seeing the narrative that, you come expecting everything and you just don't really reach nowhere. How do I know who I am and when I'm able to really make demands or show up in a relationship to ask from someone that this is what I want?
Okay. So I want to address the first portion of what you asked. So many times we have this long list of things that we want men to do. So for my dynamic, because I'm already married, guys, October it's 9 years, babe? Yeah.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, so to God be every single glory, because trust me. So Mark will say to me, babe, would you like, because my husband is a videographer, so he'll say to me, so you want me to watch the Netflix movie with you, edit the video, and you want me to go up the road and buy the ice cream. So I'm gonna three marks. What you want me to do? So I think we need to assess, and I'm in a space where I need to do that, so let me just be honest with you, where we have this long list of demands and they just can't meet everything same time and one time. And so we kind of just need to, as women, have that conversation, not necessarily with the man, but with ourselves to say, cool it. You know what I'm saying? Especially when they may indicate that, tone it down. But the second portion is when you talk about women wanting certain things from men, maybe when they're courting, and then you want a man that's tall, dark, and handsome, and you want a man that's own 2 houses, and you want a man that have a master's degree, and you want a man that this and that. But then hold up, when you look at your level of accomplishment, that's what you were asking. It kind of not really add up. So it's like, what is it that you are going to bring to the space, right? What are you going to bring to the table that would cause the man to say, boy, this is a woman that I can build with, And so to answer that question, I think it's really important and incumbent on us as women for us to do our self-assessment and say, boy, what I really have? What I really have for kind of help this situation?
Yes.
I'm asking for a lot, but what do I have? And this comes back to our tradition and cultural thing.
I was just about to say, because you started about culture.
Because if you come from a household where your mother tell you, say, no there with no man and no married no man, when I have nothing. Even if you don't have nothing, then that's just who that woman is. And so the man now, it would take for her to be in a relationship with a man who was cultured maybe by his father and mother and whoever he was raised with, for say, here we go on, irrespective of the fact that a woman don't have nothing, it's your responsibility to take care of your woman. And then at that point, when those two come together with that mindset, that would work.
That would work,
So culture and tradition.
I think we have to come back on culture and tradition in Jamaica and women and men and expectations. Can you share any parting words on this topic today?
No, it was a good discussion. Hats off to Sally. Very well done. Yeah.
Sally,
Thank you so much.
One main tip for couples that are not yet married. Yeah, okay.
Tradition. Take the time. We know that I love you, but I can tell you that loving alone is not going to sustain the marriage. Check out the lineage of the person. Tradition, create your own culture in your marriage.
Thank you, ladies. It was wonderful. Women's World today. Thank you.